Hi, welcome. My name is Shuvi Powers. I'm the Director of PR and Social Media with Girls in Tech. Today we are at the Minnesota Aspirations in Computing Award Ceremony here at General Mills, and our guests are a great panel of women along with our host, Sue Simonet. First, we have Amanda Sullivan. She is the student at Fridley Senior High and is a state level winner and nation award runner-up. She currently works at Best Buy Teen Tech Center at the Minneapolis Central Library, and she's developed her passion during her freshman year of high school. Welcome, Amanda.
Oh, thank you.
My next guest is Tika Kuti. She is the teacher at Wayzata Public School and has been there for 6 years. She graduated with her bachelor's in computer science from Montana State University and started her career as a software engineer at Honeywell. Welcome, Tika.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And my next guest is Prithya. She is a student at John Marshall High School and developed her passion for computer programming in her freshman year. And she enrolled in basic programming courses and has since participated in competition in DC. Welcome, Prithya.
Thank you.
And last but not least is our host, Sue Simonet. She is the VP of Information Technology and CTO here at General Mills Global Business Solution. She manages 800 people and all aspects of IT. Welcome, Sue.
Hello.
So Amanda, I'll start with you. You've used Code Academy before to learn coding. Tell me a little bit about your experience and that particular tool that attracted you to it.
I think the particular tool that attracted me to it is that it was a self-based learning tool, so I could learn what I wanted to learn when I wanted to learn it and at the pace I wanted to learn it, which isn't really offered in traditional college or high school courses.
Right. And Prithya, you have taken a class at Carleton College. Take a minute and tell us what the class was and what you enjoyed about it.
The class was actually like a genetics course because that's what originally my main interest was, so I enrolled in that course, but through that course I learned that I was getting back all this data and it meant nothing, and the professor made sure to take a chunk of time and say, if you were in computer science, you'd be able to create a program to decipher all this data for you, and you wouldn't have to spend the time to do all that hard labor. And I didn't realize how closely and interconnected everything was, so that course was like really interesting and eye-opening.
Okay. Sue, can you tell us a little bit about how you got interested in technology?
Well, I actually kind of fell into it. I was a math and physics major, so an undergraduate, and my husband and I got married early in college, and my husband and I moved to Socorro, New Mexico, which is a town of 7,000, and they didn't need an actuary. So I started programming because I had taken computer classes in my science classes to get my work done, and I became a programmer. And I absolutely loved it. So then when I came back to Minneapolis, got a job at General Mills. That was 32 years ago, and I've loved every minute of it.
All right. Tika, what inspired you to switch from teaching full-time?
It was actually a tough decision because I really loved engineering. And I have to say I taught part-time while I was in engineering, but I didn't really necessarily plan to switch. I knew it was time for a change, and I was actually interviewing for both engineering and teaching positions when my sister interviewed for a job at Wayzata High School, and she came back and said, oh my goodness, this is the best school ever. They have this job that you would love, and I think you'd really like the school, and I think you'd really love teaching. So I applied that night, had an interview the next day, had to make a decision by the following day, and thought, I guess I'll give it a shot. And she was right, I do love it. It's been great. But I do miss engineering sometimes. They're both wonderful fields.
Sure. Prithya, tell me, where do you draw your motivation to pursue technology?
Well, as you mentioned before, I started programming when I was a freshman in high school. I was kind of forced upon me because my brother took these classes and he found like real success, and now he's a computer science major. And so I just kind of like, as my family pushed me into it, but these classes helped me. I started with like basic HTML and CSS, and now I'm on to like object-oriented programming. So that's where I first started, and I haven't stopped, I guess.
You're already ahead of the game. Good for you. Amanda, I'm asking you the same thing.
All right. Well, yeah, I also started with HTML and CSS. That's where everybody starts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say my family pushed me into it as much as I had a genuine interest with the field almost immediately.
Okay.
I've always been around technology and computers, and it was really fascinating for me. And I think it's a really exciting field to be in. It's constantly evolutionizing, and
Yep.
it's a fast-moving field that I wanted to be a part of.
Sure. So Sue, how did you get involved in the Minnesota Aspirations in computing?
We had an intern that was one of the award winners,
Okay.
and so that's how we first got introduced to it. And then one of our current employees, Devin Sales, she is on the event committee. So she set up this event and got it here at General Mills.
Okay.
But General Mills has also always been involved with mentoring women in high school especially to get them into the field of IT. We've been doing that for about 10 years.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. And Tika, what is one piece of advice you give to girls that are interested in STEM but too concerned that it may not be for them or having different thoughts about it?
I would tell them absolutely stick with it. It's a fantastic field to be in. I think I would love to tell them that you're going to go to college and your class are going to be 50% girls and 50% boys and you're going to get out in the real world and it's going to be that way. But that's not the reality. The reality is it's still a very male-dominated field. But truthfully, you forget about that. I mean, it's not a case of where you go into work every day and think, oh my goodness, I'm the only girl here. You get over that and most of the guys you work with are great. And those numbers don't change unless more girls go into it. And the field is so wonderful and the rewards are so great. I would absolutely encourage them to go for it.
Okay, that's a good advice. So Amanda, who has been the biggest influence in your life?
The biggest influence in my life. I think I'm a combined effort of every person I've ever met as far as this journey goes, I think. So every reassurance I've gotten from people in the technology, especially from the women I met at the conferences. There was the Grace Hopper conference in Minneapolis, which is extremely reaffirming for what I wanted to go into, but there's not a single individual person, I don't think, but it was a combined effort.
Sure. Okay. And Prithia, what careers fascinate you?
I don't know what career per se fascinates me, but I do know that I'm like aiming towards med school and stuff, and I'm interested in neuroscience, and I'm doing shadowing at the Mayo Clinic because it's nearby me, and I see how technology can really influence, like there's a technology called deep brain stimulation, and that really excites me for what I could combine my technology background and my science background with. So I don't know yet, but I guess I will find out.
And what a great place, Mayo, to get all that exposure.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
it is really nice.
So, Sue, what's the best career advice you've ever received?
I think my best career advice was to get an internship and get them early. I had 2 internships as an actuarial student, one in Boston and one in St. Paul, and then I also was an intern for Pillsbury Company as a programmer. So I got to try out a lot of different careers, and then I was really ready for the corporate world when it got there.
Mm-hmm. The real world.
The real world.
Tika, can you tell me who has been an inspiration in your life and why?
I would say the biggest inspiration in my life have been my parents.
Okay.
Because they've always encouraged me to be independent. They really encouraged both my sister and myself to be confident with who you are and not necessarily to care what the crowd thinks or do what the crowd is. My dad is very into technology. He was an engineer, so he always encouraged us to kind of pursue those interests and to try out technology, and it's definitely led both my sister and I to technical fields.
Okay. Amanda, how has this experience affected you?
I think the experience of both being around all this technology, or at least people in the technology field, it's kind of reaffirmed what I wanted to do. Because at first, it is a intimidating field to be a part of, and so being around all these people, being like, oh no, they're like the nicest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And they're super, super driven, and just being around, it's like, hey, I could be one of these people too. You don't have to be.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was going to be like, oh, you have to be super good at math, you have to be super good at this, but it's just you have to have that drive to want to do it.
Yeah.
And all these people had that, and I think that's just the thing you need to succeed.
Yeah. It's breaking through some of those stereotypes when you finally meet the people.
Yeah, for sure.
And how about you, Prithia? How has this experience affected you?
I think for me, I've just like experienced so much with it. My basis in programming has allowed me to like go to different places and meet different people, like all the different competitions I've been to, and it's helped me like network, and it's helped me gain more access to internships and stuff like that. So opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. My next question is for Sue. Sue, what would you say to young girls out there that are interested in technology?
I would say it's a fabulous career. I mean, in my 32 years, I have done so many things. You can be a project manager, you can be a technical specialist, you can be someone that manages people. There's just so many different things to do, and you get to see all aspects of the business. So in my career, I have done sales and marketing and supply chain. I've put up 2 plants from scratch, so from a green field, R&D, HR, finance. I pretty much touched every aspect of business. And there's not many careers when you can do that. And you can see it all, and you can do it all, and you can rotate. And one of the things in General Mills that we offer is rotation, so that about every 2 years we rotate our people around and you get to see a lot of new things.
And people get to grow in those fields too.
Lots of growth.
Okay.
That's why I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I want to thank everybody for being here today. It's been amazing just to hear your stories and journeys and advice for all the girls out there. And I want to thank all my listeners for joining us today. That's it. I'm Shuvi with Girls in Tech. Thank you. Bye-bye.